I'm sat here drinking tea with one of my favourite authors, Dodie Hamilton. Dodie, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you, Lee. How are you?
Oh, I'm excellent. I'm excellent. Now, your books. I mean, I've read Perfidia. I've read. I can't even remember the.
Lighthouse.
Yeah, and the Silent Music,
Yes.
which I thought was a stunning book. What's the new one? What's the one you're working on now?
I'm working on, if you like, the prequel to A Second Chance, which is called Reluctant Angels. And the idea is that what happened in A Second Chance and the people that are there is to show them why, a little bit more of why they're there and why they're who they are, why Bobby is so unhappy and why he's so sad. And yes, it's really a key into yesterday.
Okay, now your books, you involve angels a lot.
Yes, I do.
Is this something which you believe firmly?
I totally and absolutely believe in a power that is able to give us beings that can interact with us on Earth. So whether we call them angels or not, I believe that there is and are beings that are not of this Earth, but who choose and not of this understanding of Earth, but that choose to, if you like, pasture Earth in the way that shepherds would perhaps look after their young and their sheep, really.
So, when you write your books, I mean, obviously you have characters, and the character we've spoken about how your books are character driven and how
Yes, absolutely.
you create these characters. But when you write the books, I mean, you have some stable characters which have carried all the way through. Do you find them changing, or do they always remain the same?
I find they change, but within a set structure of who they basically are. I mean, Bobby Rourke, for instance, in The Coming Reluctant Angels, is a young USA pilot who's gone over through Canada to fly Lancaster bombers in Bomber Command. And you meet him when he is young and vibrant, he is what he is there is also in A Second Chance and is also in Perfidia. But what he is in Second Chance and Perfidia is an older man and changed by the circumstances, but the bottom line, he is still Bobby Rourke and always will be. Even when he dies, when the ghost of Bobby appears here and there in Perfidia to Sophie and helps her, because he becomes a kind of mentor to her, a funny mentor, still asks for a tequila slammer with cherry on top, even though he could possibly drink it. So he's still Bobby, you see, even when he's ephemeral, even when he's not of this world, he's still Bobby, still thinks in terms of Earth, and he's a very interesting character.
Now, you say there that this guy is an American
Yeah.
who went to Canada
Yeah.
and ended up in Bomber Command.
Yeah.
To research that
Oh, wow.
must have taken quite a bit of work.
Yes, it did. It's reasonable to assume that happened quite a lot. There were Polish flyers that came in. But Canada was a good source for Americans who had the itch to help, because, of course, at the time, Roosevelt was trying to get America in the war, but there was a very strong belt that didn't want America in the war. But so Canada was the route in for, and yes, it did take research, but what you really found was it was down to the guy. If he wanted to fly, as does Bobby Rourke, always born to fly. Oh, absolutely, Johnny in the sky, born to fly. He will find a route where he can fly to serve, and that's what he did. The sad thing about Bobby, in terms of flying, when you meet him, he's giving he's flying over Chesapeake Bay, $3 a flip. And you'd think that he would be lucky to get something like a Spitfire or Hurricane, but he doesn't. He's kept out of it, and he has to fly some of the big Lancaster bombers, or he has to work for Bomber Command, which is different for him. He's used to flipping around, but he has to learn that there are people on board, crew on board, a bomber on board, a gunner on board, and he's no longer him. But he's very brave. And that shows itself in about the 4th or 5th chapter, when he actually first flies for Bomber Command, where he lands on a scary and gets people out when the plane's on fire. He is a brave man, even though he's a silly, strange, weird character. He's still brave, and that goes all the way through the book. So that courage, no matter what he's doing, never changes. Even the fact when I can't say too much, can I? That's the thing.
No, don't give away too much. No.
But even in Second Chance, when you learn the man, you can't help but see the courage. The courage behind all the powerful sadness, yeah.
Now, the one thing I always find fascinating is your male characters are very strong, which I wouldn't have expected from, if you don't mind me saying, a female author. You would expect the females to be the stronger ones, but no, they're both strong, aren't they?
Yes, they are. It's probably because I like strong men, and I'm drawn to strong men, and as a writer I know that women are drawn to strong men, and the characters develop themselves. You find their strength through what they do. Interestingly, Alexander Hunter, who is my human hero, if you like, whereas Gabriel, of course, is a becoming angel, and therefore he is human, sure, but he has this wonderful touch of God that makes him a child of God, which makes him slightly different. But Alex Hunter, for instance, who is a US Ranger in the 1st Battalion, I found him, if you like, already made in my head, and I read years back of this amazing 1st Battalion Ranger who, being captured by the Italians during the Battle of Anzio, and along with 600 other men was being paraded through Rome under tight security. Can you imagine it? Guns either side. He managed to escape. He managed to climb under a wagon of horse manure, and he got out that way. So, you know, this is some character. Who could not love him and think him strong?
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Gabriel there. Now, Gabriel always fascinates me because the one thing I remember about Gabriel when I've read about him is, yes, he's an angel, but he's also got a very wicked sense of humour.
Oh, he is entirely human. He is entirely human. He is a becoming angel, and the only way he doesn't know this about, we find this bit by bit about him, that he is born with certain abilities, and that they show themselves, for instance, in scars on his back, which they refer to as butterfly wings. His father beats him, and the scars of the beating show as butterfly stripes, and he goes to bed that night with butterfly stripes, wounds bleeding, but he'll wake in the morning and they will be gone. So we are looking, this is a man who can take an animal that's dying, and he can know whether this animal can live again. And if he thinks it can, it will. And if he thinks it can't, he will assist it. So we are looking at something very beyond. But he doesn't, this part is why it's called Reluctant Angels. He doesn't want it. He doesn't want to be different. He wants to be a Marine. He wants to be liked. He doesn't want to be a dummy, which he regards himself as. Because he couldn't read when he first started, and when he joined the Marines he couldn't read, and it was Adelia, of course, that taught him to read. So this is a man, yes, for all that, and a man that doesn't really know who he is, but bit by bit is brought to understand who he is, and bit by bit has to learn to whether accept. So the humour really is a kind of shield, between him and the world.
You see, it's one of those things where I'm sort of reading about this guy and I'm thinking, hang on, an angel wouldn't say that. Yeah. But how do I know what an angel would say?
Well, exactly. And, I can hear Gabriel in my head as I can hear Bobby, and I can surely hear Adelia and all the other characters. Some of the minor ones appear and they rise and they go down, but Gabriel is so clear in my head, and he has this wonderful drawl, this... Virginia drawl, and that voice is so vivid in my head. So, he speaks as a man, and he loves as a man, and he has sex as a man, and he adores Adelia as a man. So this is flesh and blood, with the wings growing. And right now, which is rather wonderful, I'm working with a person to draw the first cover for Reluctant.
Right.
And it's so special and important. This woman is very talented and very clever, and she's shown me first drafts of an angel with his back to, if you like, the reader, with his wings coming, but with his hair tied up in twine, because, as we know, Gabriel has this beautiful blonde mane, and his arms are hanging down in this kind of frustrated pose. And we think we're going to put a rifle in one hand and a marine helmet in the other. Yeah, the frustrated angel. Yeah, reluctant.
Now, you have some wonderful covers, I must admit. I mean, Perfidia is the most stunning cover. Yeah. When you look at the covers, you get a visualization of what you're thinking of. Is that something intentional?
I suppose it is, but I've been very fortunate with the covers. As you're so right. Perfidia, the angel, the beautiful angel on tiptoe, the kind of stripper angel, really, with her clasped on wings flying up. Everybody loves that cover.
Oh, goodness,
yeah, and I was so fortunate with that because it was actually just by chance. So Reluctant Angels is the first one, really, that's going to be built separately. Same with Silent Music, and this lovely woman who is the musician, the cellist, who's in love with a man who is becoming slowly deaf.
Yes.
And so music to him is gradually disappearing. That, in terms of research, that was really interesting because I learned all about the modern techniques, with deafness. And I learned how it can change a person's life. And this man, Harold de Roche Tobin, he has been slowly going deaf over many years. And I didn't know what to do in terms of a cover, but eventually what I found was the woman with the cello and this beautiful face, very locked off face, because being deaf is just really very, very hard.
Now, you talk about that book, Silent Music. And yeah, I've read that one and I found it totally fascinating.
Because it's a murder story as well, isn't it? Which is a new one to me. I've never written murder before, and to find suddenly that the character that I'm writing is actually lived through not just murder, but through attempts of murder and through being locked in a tomb in Paris, in Givenchy, in the garden that belongs to Monet, and left there to die. Yes. And alone in the cold. And music comes into this tomb from nowhere. She thinks it's him, the captor, who was also a cellist, Benjamin. She thinks it's him playing the cellist. But no, it's not him. He can't do that. It's some other. And we're back to the angel idea again. Yeah. Music keeps her alive while she's in the tomb.
That was just a fascinating book. Yeah. Totally fascinating. And once again, when you're reading these books, the characters take on their life and they draw you in and you want to find out more about each character. I think that's a real skill.
Yes, thank you for that. Recently I had the most wonderful review. I'm always glad of reviews, but this particular one was really very wonderful because it started out saying this is a beautiful book, this is a brilliant book. It went through a great long description of how the man, because it was a man, I think that's also what pleased me, because it was actually a man making the review, Geoffrey Manton, and he said, I can honestly say in all my life, I've never met a writer who had such immediate precision of taking a character, taking the reader and placing them in time. Oh, my word. I ran up the stairs when I saw that and I shouted to my husband, come, look. And he sort of said, yeah, that's nice, but it was more than nice. It was wonderful.
Now, that I suppose is the big thing for an author, isn't it? To have people get what you're talking about, yes. Basically. Yes.
I once was in a situation where, because I write mainly, because I write for ebooks and because we're trying to save trees and God knows what, so the books are ebooks and you don't know really who buys them. You get a lovely fan base which builds up slowly. But I was once in a place where this woman came to me out of nowhere and said, I've just finished A Second Chance. Thank you. That's all she said. I've just finished a second chance. Thank you so much. And that, that kind of thing where you don't actually look for it. I mean, you have to work hard as a writer to promote, and I am afraid of being one of those that's continually boring people to death. And so sometimes, as you know with me, I will go through days where I just don't mention fact. But that coming from this stranger.
Fantastic.
Honestly.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I always think that the authors and obviously musicians are very, very similar. They walk the same path. And one of the greatest compliments, obviously, you can give to a musician is, thank you for writing that song. It means so much to me. And I suppose if you can read a book and get drawn into that book and find an enjoyment in that book.
Oh, yeah. Well, that the thing about being a writer is the thing that we enjoy. Well, I do. I can only speak for me. I know that I laugh. I'll be typing away, and suddenly I'll laugh because Bobby will have said something, or Gabriel will have done something, and I love what I do. I love the words. I play with the words. I love to write. So when someone actually says to me, has been said now, particularly over a second chance, over and over again, oh my God, I love that book. It makes you, it gives you everything you could possibly want. In fact, the cash in the end, the actual buying of the book becomes almost secondary. What becomes the thing is someone saying, I loved that book. Yeah.
Now, this is going to be part of, it was going to be a trilogy, but it's now, how many? 5 books?
Well, yes, it was going to be, I thought at first, just a trilogy, but a trilogy of a second chance, and then Perfidia's the sequel, and then the prequel in Reluctant Angels. But I've since found that my people, I don't think of them characters really, my people want more. They want to tell me why they like that. So because Gabriel is becoming angel, and really what these stories are, Reluctant Angel, a second chance, Perfidia, and then the helplessness of angels, which is what the whole group will be called, is about the being of an angel, the becoming, an angel being born through humanity, and how it is so difficult to be that, because the things you want to do as an angel to change life, you can't always do. For instance, you can't always have the woman you love. And you can love her and love her and love her, and you can try and help her, but if she's meant for someone else, you can't have her. And that's Gabriel's great pain. Well, it's Gabriel's great pain in 3 novels, but it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be his in 4th, does it?
No.
Indeed. So, what appears to be happening, and being an angel, he has the ability passively to change time.
So, do you believe in fate?
I believe in karma.
Right.
I believe in a cause and effect. So I suppose if something is in place to happen in terms of space and time, then it will happen. And nothing in the world will stop it happening. Do you believe in fate?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Things are fated to happen, and they will happen. Okay, just one more thing, and that is the books. Where can we get them?
Right, well, the best stop always, the first stop is Dear Amazon. God bless Amazon. And they can be found on Kobo and all sorts of things, but you can find them actually best on Dodie Hamilton Books on my website. If you go there, you'll not just find the links to the books, you'll find my blog where I talk about the characters and of course other things like the spiritual dreams, etc. But yes, Amazon's all, and USA, Europe, England, UK, whatever. First shot always good old Amazon.
Okay, and of course the other thing is you're on Facebook as well.
Oh, always, yeah. Facebook I love. I mean, I hear lots of things about people say, whoa, Facebook, but I love it. I've found friends all over the world through my books, and I've found friends through all over the world through Facebook, and I'm extremely grateful for both.
Okay, Dodie Hamilton, Thank you for talking with me.
Thank you so much, Lee. God bless.